Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. Your host, JP John Poz, with me today, very special guest. He's an acclaimed WWE mask creator. He's created masks for the Jester 2, the Black Phone, and Terrifier 3, Mr. Jason Baker. Jason, welcome in. How you doing?
Hey, man, how's it going?
What is going on in your world? What is going on in the world of Jester number 2?
Super excited for everybody to check it out. Comes out later this month, doing the Fathom events 2-night thing. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to make, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what people think of it.
So the 2-night Fathom Entertainment theatrical release will be on 9/15 and 9/16, and get an exclusive look at the making of the Jester 2 as well, with behind-the-scenes stuff. So very cool stuff. Like, it just interesting, and if you're a fan, makes it even more interesting because you get a lot of extras involved.
Absolutely.
So with you, obviously, so what's your role here in obviously creating some of these awesome masks and the Jester, and then coming back for the Jester 2?
Yeah, so we did the mask for the first movie, and then when they were gearing up to do the second one, Colin contacted us about coming on and helping create a new mask for the second movie, as well as heading up all the special makeup effects for the film. So it was a lot of fun, just coming up with a new look for the Jester, kind of going back to closer look of the shorts than we did from the first film, and just kind of going from there. So it was a lot of fun. I'm really proud of what we accomplished, and can't wait to see what everybody thinks of it.
I'm always curious, like when you're creating stuff like this, and you have obviously the first movie, then you're kind of moving on to the second one. Where does the creativity come from? Like, where are you kind of pulling ideas from, and how do you get those ideas?
Well, you start with the script, and then you just collaborate and kind of go from there. One of the fun things that we did with this movie was, because the Jester's this, he's a murderous magician. So yeah. One of the things we used was that was kind of our approach to a lot of the gags and the effects for the film was, doing more sleight of hand, like classic magic trick style effects for it than doing like super elaborate animatronics and things of that nature.
Very cool. Obviously different. Halloween night, you got the magician, you got the teen, and everything. I mean, it's very kind of just intriguing, and I feel like getting very creative and very different. That's kind of cool, though. Like, I feel like when the villain and the the mask, if you will, the artwork, the makeup, when that mixes in well with a cool story, it's just like a home run.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see it all put together, and I can't wait. I haven't actually got to see the film yet, so we're gonna go. We're watching it the same day that everyone else gets to see it. So,
you're looking forward to that. You get a nice little surprise in there.
Yeah, we're gonna go sneak into a local theater with everybody, and watch the crowd reaction. And that's usually watching everybody else is kind of a good testament to see whether or not they like what you guys did.
Are you not going to say who you are and just try to get some feedback from some people and say, "Hey, what do you think about the mask?" And hey, what do you think about the makeup?
Back and be that weird, creepy old guy in the back row, looking all weird, and just watching people's reactions.
Love that. Are you a big horror guy? Were you always a big horror fan?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I love all types of films. Not really a big gore monger. Love monsters. Love like Predator, Aliens, things like that. But I loved slashers growing up. So I'm a child of the '80s. So Saturday morning cartoons, monster movies, pro wrestling, action movies, all that fun jazz. So yeah, you got a WrestleMania 7 back there.
Yes, actually, you can't say them all. They're all pretty much all the WrestleManias up to 9 are pretty much all lined up there. Yeah, '80s kid as well. Love all that stuff. It was actually so funny. There was a marathon on the other day. It was Predator, Running Man, like back to back, and then T2. I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. This
there you go. Yeah,
trilogy here.
So no, my wife always makes fun of me because I confided in her that when I was 7 years old, I legitimately thought Hulk Hogan stopped Operation Desert Storm by winning WrestleMania 7.
That was great. One of those things where like you get kind of invested, like Hulk needs to stop this guy and stop this war.
I'm not watching the news. It was just like he won, and then I was like, it looked like the war went away. So Hulk Hogan must have stopped Desert Storm.
Hey, I honestly think you kind of were onto something because it's kind of true if you think about it. Kind of, sort of true.
That there was no internet back then, so I don't know. I was, living in the woods outside of Seattle. So in my little world, that's what happened.
And you had to hate Slaughter, right? I mean, geez, what was he thinking about back then?
Yeah.
What a turncoat, right? I mean, I can't believe that. The cool thing is, though, obviously Hulk gets the win, and he puts the flag over him. We get the win. Yeah, that's what's important.
Get that Rocky IV ending.
Yes. Were you always a big wrestling fan? Were you always into it?
I was, again, grew up in the 80s, so wrestling was kind of just forced upon you growing up. Kind of didn't just stopped watching like around like middle school, high school. And then when I started working for Tom Savini, he was doing stuff with WWE. And so I was kind of, I don't want to say forced to get back into it, but, kind of was like, all right, well, I should probably start paying attention and seeing who we're working with and figure out who these guys are. And, and through that, I have a newfound love for the business that I never had before when I was a kid. It was purely just as a kid, it was a spectator sport. But now knowing what goes into it and how much, the talent sacrifices just physically, mentally, emotionally, and how hard it is, just to get where they are and to put on the show, and just a newfound respect for all of it. So yeah, I definitely have a new love and respect for professional wrestling that I never had before I started working with WWE.
Is it one of those things where it's like the entertainment, like what gets you the most, like what made you kind of fall back in love with it, or like give it the
it's like I come from a film and TV world, and I've worked on movies where I watch people who can't remember 2 lines. They have to keep checking with the script supervisor, and then I watch somebody at WWE go learn a 7-page monologue within 20 minutes, and then go out and not only deliver it verbatim, but convince an entire audience that what they're saying is real. That's one aspect of it. And then watching people go out, work a 40-minute match. I'm like, no other like professional athlete goes as long as a professional wrestler does in a match. Like football players, it's like you go from whistle to whistle, which is like 2 minutes, and then you get to stop, take a break, this or that, or baseball, whatever. So they go out, they put on these 40-minute matches, beat the shit out of themselves, and then climb in a car, drive 4 hours, 6 hours, and do it all over again the next day. And I'm like, you guys have to love what you do, and so you have to respect that.
It is one of the most
unique. And that's just the talent, and then seeing how much work goes into it behind the scenes with the crew people, and and then at the corporate office, and just this seeing like truly the inner workings of this entire machine that runs the show is just so inspiring.
It is such a unique business too, because not only are they doing all that, they're doing it most of the time in front of a live crowd. You can't screw up, things like that. What other medium does that? Nobody.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it's this beautiful amalgamation of just like film, TV, sports, live theater, and everything. So it's just I absolutely love getting to work with WWE, and it's so much fun.
So how did that happen?
Challenge. Pretty much Tom Savini left me in catering one day, and that was the end of it. So no, Tom was working with Triple H and a bunch of the other guys, and then he kept getting job offers, and he was busy doing films and other things. So Tom just entrusted me to kind of pick up the jobs and do stuff and go from there. And then over time, Tom just, he slowly started taking a step back with the business, but still being involved at the same time, and letting me kind of just spearhead all of it, and just kind of went from there.
And how did you start with Tom? How did that kind of all get rolling for you?
I came out here to go to Tom's school and had no desire to ever, not desire, but just had no real thought that I'd ever work for Tom. Started just working in the film industry here around Pittsburgh, moved away for a couple years, moved back. And I ran into Tom randomly at a comic book shop here in Pittsburgh one day. And Tom was like, "Oh, hey, you're back in town. Great. Can you come and help me with this project?" And, I always joke about how when I first started working for Tom, it reminded me of the Dread Pirate Roberts in Princess Bride, where he tells him, he's going to kill him every single day. So I thought every day for Tom was going to be my last day working for him for like 10 years. And, and we still, and then about 5 years ago, we got to the point where we just ran out of room in his little small studio that's attached to his house. And I went to Tom and was like, I think it's time to open the studio up again and get like a legitimate business running again. And Tom told me, he's like, well, then how about you do it and I'll come and work for you. So that's where we started Close Some Studios. So Tom is our chief consultant. And, you know, it's greatest joy in life is I get to work every day with one of my childhood heroes.
Man, that's crazy, right? What a reversal. Yeah. What a change of fortunes there. Like it kind of all circular, but it goes back around. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Love that. So when he's working for Triple H, what was he doing? He was doing like his WrestleMania like mask and the outfits and stuff.
The Skull King crown and everything like that. The big shoulder pads. I think that was for 27, 28. And then the first one I did with Tom was the gold one for 30, which I think is right above me there.
Oh, nice.
So, and you know, and then that just slowly started doing that. Then I started working with Eric Rowan and doing his sheet masks for the Wyatt family, and you know, and it just kind of grew from there.
With Triple H, what's it like working with him? Are you kind of giving him ideas? Is he giving you ideas? Is he just kind of giving it all to you, or you guys are collaborating?
No. Paul's amazing. He's one of the best bosses I've ever had. You know, he knows what he wants, but he's open to suggestions. You know, he just wants to make the best product possible. And he also, one of the things I love about Paul is he'll trust you with you. You know, he'll be like, all right, I trust you, go do it. And by him doing that, it makes you want to do an even better job because you don't want to let him down. So, you know, and it's just, he's just an amazing boss and leader. And, you know, it's just so exciting to get to work with him. And, you know, he gives you the adulation. He'll give you his honest criticism. And, you know, I really, really enjoy that with him. So again, one of the greatest bosses I've ever had.
Do you ever take like inspiration from something else and then, you know, add in your spin and then do like almost like that look is almost like, oh, he kind of looks like Skeletor a little bit in Masters of the Universe, or, you know, something like that. Do you ever do that? Do you kind of draw inspiration?
I mean, like when we were designing the masks for the Black Phone, the off-white look of it, because we knew it was based in the 80s, and growing up, I remember everyone, like my mom, everybody chain smoked inside. So everything had nicotine stains on it. So that was an inspiration. That was why I used that when we were coming up with the look. I used that like off-white nicotine stain look for the original mask, for the grabber mask. That was just something that just reminded me of the 80s. And then, you know, earth tones were a big thing. Like, you know, I remember my grandparents had the weird leaf brown pattern couch with the hard oak armrests, and, you know, thing. So just, you know, remembering that, you know, earth tones were really popular in the 80s. And so, you know, just using a lot of those memories as a child to make a serial killer mask. So
that is a cool one too, because you know, the look on his face too. Obviously it's not his expression, but the expression of the mask, it's just so telling. It's chilling almost. You know, it's like a little freaky.
Yeah.
When you're doing Rowan, though, that's cool, too, because, I mean, he's a big guy, but it's like, how can you make a big guy kind of scarier, more intimidating, but without using his face? I mean, how do you come up with that idea? Is that you guys collaborating again?
Yeah, it was just him just telling me what he wanted and what we thought would be cool, and just working in little Easter eggs of things that we loved growing up or things that we thought would be weird. And just, you know, again, it's just a really fun collaborative process.
How about with Bray? You guys created some cool stuff, right?
Yeah, we did the Fiend and we did the Firefly Funhouse and the Uncle Howdy, and, you know, Bray was my best friend. And so, you know, every time I got to work with him, it was like getting to go to a sleepover with your best friend. So, you know, so it was always fun, and we would just kind of, you know, we'd feed off of each other. We just, you know, tennis ball back and forth ideas, like, oh, what about this? Okay, well, this, or, oh, you know, you'll remember that? Oh yeah, I remember that movie. Oh yeah, let's do that, or we'll play with that, or this and that, you know. And that was sort of with the ideas. And then, you know, with Nick Manfredini, who wrote all the Firefly Funhouse episodes and who was Bray's writer for, you know, his entire run at WWE, you know, the three of us would just sit there and we'd just kind of figure out what we wanted to do, and, you know, spitball ideas and, you know, this and that. And then, you know, so it was always really fun just kind of feeding off of each other and figuring out what would be the best way to go about doing something. And then just being really honest with each other and being like, you know, like, maybe this might not work, or maybe we try this instead, or, I don't think we can get the budget to do that, but I think we can do this. And so it was just a really fun collaborative process between the three of us for so long.
Bray always had like a crazy creativity to him where it's like, oh, you never know what he's going to come up with next. The Fiend is so over here and like Firefly Funhouse is over here. Does that make it more fun for you? Because it's like, man, we got so much kind of toys to play with. We can kind of really generate kind of craziness out of nowhere almost.
Yeah, it was. I mean, again, it was probably the funnest I've ever had professionally and personally. I got to hang out with two of my best friends and make weird, goofy Mr. Rogers type stuff, and then make really fun, scary monsters and stuff. So it was. So some of my fondest memories were doing all of that with Bray and Nick, and it's just so much fun.
Do you have a favorite one that you created with him, like one that sticks out?
I mean, all of them. Because it was always just, a really fun thing. And even if it's funny, because even when we were coming up with like scary, like I guess scary stuff, we'd always be laughing about it. And that was sort of the whole thing, was that it was like we would try to get each other to just sort of just bust open laughing with ideas. And if the three of us were just laughing hysterically, we'd be like, all right, well, maybe we might be onto something. And hopefully people think this is funny too. Or just the fun, like little places we pull inspiration from. Like the example, the look of Huskus the Pig Boy came from a statue of a pig boy chef thing that Bray's mom had in her kitchen.
Oh, wow.
Just sent a picture. He's like, dude, I want it to look like this weird thing that my mom has in her kitchen. I was like, all right, let's do that. So, but it's just, we're always just pulling fun ideas from just all over the place. And that's half the fun of the collaborative process. It's just how everyone looks at things mildly different.
That's a great like Easter egg. Like, where did this come from? And nobody would guess. Oh, Bray's mom's kitchen.
Yeah, Bray's mom's kitchen. So
the Fiend too. Like, where does that come from? Because that's like way out there.
That was all Bray. That was all Wyndham. We just kind of came up with this look, and he was sort of telling us what he wanted and this and that. And it just, when I saw it all put together, and, especially with the, seeing the mask and then the costume that Ken did for him and everything, like it just all worked. I remember that the very first time I ever saw him in the full look was on set, and he just came walking out, and he just stood next to me, and I was like, I don't want to be near you right now. Like, you are terrifying looking. So
yeah, that is an interesting look. And then the Fiend when he's all burnt too. I mean, that's a completely different one too, right? Even scarier.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
When you're doing that, right? And the documentary, it's cool too when you're like showing behind the scenes, and we get to see some of the stuff. Bray's documentary, I would say, like some of the behind the scenes stuff of like the creation, of just your laboratory there. I thought that was a really cool kind of peek into the process of you putting a lot of that stuff together.
Yeah. Wyndham would come here all the time, and he'd just hang out, and we'd work on stuff together. And he was a huge fan of special effects and horror films, and just he always wanted to see kind of how we did stuff. And so he'd just come here and hang out, and we'd show him, or we'd have to make like copies of his hands or this or that, and just have him in the whole process. So he was here all the time, and just come and he would stay here for days and just come and hang out with me and bring the kids and JoJo, and we just work and everything else. Like I always tell people all the time, the reason there's literally a TV on the wall behind me is because he would bring his kids, and they would kick me out of my own office and want to like be out here. That was like our unrunning joke, is that they would Hyrie and Nash would turn my office into their clubhouse, and we weren't allowed. So we'd be like, all right, well, we're going to go out there and work, but you guys can sit here and watch TV and hang out and everything. So it was really cute. I absolutely love his kids. They're so much fun.
What's something about him? Like, everyone knows he's a creative genius. Everybody knows he's one of the best, was one of the best promos in WWE when he was there. What's something like we wouldn't know about him that just would maybe surprise us a little bit?
I mean, I think everything that people know is out there, man. He had one of the biggest hearts out of anybody I've ever met. Like, sincere, legit. Like, he would just call you out of the blue just to be like, hey, how you doing? Not, hey, how you doing? Can you make this for me? Hey, how you doing? I need this. Like he would just call you just to see how you're doing. He would just legitimately check up on you, no strings attached. You know, he'd remember your birthdays, even though I was like, how did you know that? Like, you know, and like, or something would just randomly show up at my house, like a present. And I'd be like, you know, my wife would call me and be like, Wyndham sent you this thing. I don't know what the hell it is. like, I saw it online, thought you need it. So, you know, he was like, I bought 2 of them, sent you one. I hope you like it. Like, he's just a wonderful human being. I've never met anybody who inspired me to want to be a nicer person than Wyndham, who just made me want to look for the good in people like Wyndham did. You know, I can't tell you how many, you know, like we'd be on the road, he'd be at a show, it'd be 2:00 in the morning. He just, you know, worked a 45-minute match. He's absolutely beat to hell, exhausted. And he'd still like buy some homeless dude a bunch of food outside of the convenience store while we were traveling type shit. You know, he's just genuine, like a legitimately genuine person. So yeah, man, I miss him every day.
Sweetheart of a guy. Looks like he would be, you know, the villain here in one of these movies, but obviously looks are deceiving.
Yeah.
You know what's fun? I was just talking like few weeks ago to Dan Spivey, and I was like, aren't you supposed to be Mercy the Buzzard? He, for some reason, was saying that he isn't. I think maybe you would help to clarify. Is Dan Spivey? Because obviously Waylon Mercy, who Bray took a lot of inspiration from and was friendly with Dan, obviously because of Mike, was he supposed to be Mercy the Buzzard?
He wasn't supposed to be, but it was definitely sort of an homage because the whole thing was, you know, the original Firefly Funhouse was sort of Wyndham's psyche. It was Bray's sort of psyche in the world, and he's just the way he saw things and things of that nature. So, you know, obviously, you know, Mercy the Buzzard was an homage to Waylon Mercy. So, because, you know, Wyndham never hid the fact that he, you know, was inspired by him. So.
And obviously his dad teamed with Dan Spivey for years. You know, so, yeah, there's a big connection there. And obviously that when Bray originally had that awesome look with the shirts, he was, you know, the King for Waylon Mercy.
Yeah, it's a blatant homage. It's a blatant tip of the cap to him.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why Dan was kind of saying, like, I don't know if it's supposed to be Mercy the Buzzard. I'm like, come on, Dan. You definitely were. Come on. But as far as you and wrestling, you're still working with them? Are you still like doing some stuff? Like, are you still with Rowan making some of his
cool
stuff?
Yep. Still working with everybody, WWE, and heading up their special effects department. It's been a lot of fun. So I was just with them in Chicago for SmackDown, and you know, got SmackDown this Friday and got the WrestlePalooza in 2 weeks in Indianapolis. So,
is there guys specifically you work with, or you just work with everybody across the board?
Just gotta work with everybody across the board. Whoever needs whatever, you know, like we just did the those Borderland costumes for the Street Profits over in Paris. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
You know, done a lot of stuff with just different talent and whatever they need. So.
Man, that's awesome. That I thought that was such a cool look, and obviously goes with the sponsor that they were doing too. So I mean, that's like a cool joint collaboration for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We got to do a couple of those before. Like my wife did the Doom one for Drew for WrestleMania, like his whole year and look, and that was a lot of cool just to see that all come together. So you know, anytime we get to do something fun and different, I'm all for it. So
that's awesome. Which other ones have you done that I probably can think of, but maybe it's escaping me?
I mean, Cody's for this last WrestleMania and the year before that. Shinsuke's one, did Rhea's look for Mania and Rhea's for when she broke her orbital socket for Survivor Series. You know, yeah, done quite a few. Those
Cody ones are awesome. I love those. Those are like super cool, like just different and unique, but perfect for him.
Yeah, no, I love working with Cody. He's, again, absolute sweetheart, completely professional, really nice guy.
And obviously, Uncle Howdy was you. That's a unique kind of different one too. Very almost a little bit Black Phone-ish. You know what I mean? Like it's got that kind of aura to it, that vibe to it.
A little bit, yeah, I can see that.
So as far as you and WWE, I mean, awesome stuff. But as far as Terrifier 3 and movies and stuff, you're still doing, obviously, the Jester and everything, but you're still...
Yeah, we're doing, we did the Jester, too, the whole reason we're talking.
Yeah. But, you're making wrestling and movies. This is awesome. Like, you're, like, on fire right now.
Oh, thanks, man. No, I love what I do. So it's, you know, it's I enjoy all of it. You know, Jester 2 was a lot of fun. You know, we shot that down in Missouri, and, you know, getting to work with Colin and Michael again was an absolute blast. And, you know, so grateful they brought us back from the first one. And, you know, got to work with a bunch of really cool people. And, you know, I'm really, really excited to see the finished product.
So cool. Of course, the two-night Fathom Entertainment theatrical release does include a look at the making of the Jester 2 with behind-the-scenes featurette. Colin, like you mentioned, the director will, and the whole cast will reveal a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff about the chilling sequel, how it was brought to life, complete with cast interviews, on-set footage, and a deep dive into the creation of the film's most terrifying moments. So you don't want to miss that. 9/15 and 9/16 Fathom events is where it is. But as far as you and everything you got, where can everybody kind of find and follow you and see what you got going on?
No, just hunt me down on social media. Got the Instagram, got the Twitter. You know, pretty sure I still got a MySpace page out there somewhere. So,
and of course, everybody can check out Fathom events. And Jason, anything else you want to plug as far as your socials or anything else you got coming on?
No, man, just really excited to see what people think of Jester 2.
Good stuff. The Jester 2, of course, coming out, like I said, 9/15 and 9/16 Fathom events. Fathom Entertainment theatrical release only. Can only see it in theaters. So, Jason, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.